The stars trembled before the Vorthek Empire. For 3,000 years, their massive warships had crossed the darkness between worlds, bringing death and conquest to every living thing they found. No planet had ever stood against them. No species had ever made them retreat. They were the perfect killing machines, built for war and nothing else. Admiral Zexhai stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His body was covered in hard crystal plates that could stop any weapon the galaxy had ever seen. His forearms moved with deadly precision as he studied the star maps floating before him. 12 galaxies bowed before the Vorthek Empire. Soon there would be 13. The bridge buzzed with activity as his officers worked at their stations. Each Vorthek was connected to the others through their shared mind. They thought as one, fought as one, and conquered as one. It was their greatest strength. No enemy could surprise them because they all knew what the others knew. No battle plan could fail because every soldier followed orders perfectly. "Report," Zexhai commanded, his voice like grinding stone. "The 47th Conquest Fleet is ready, Admiral," replied his second-in-command, War Leader Threxnai. 200 dreadnoughts, 500 battle cruisers, and 3,000 fighter craft. The target system has been identified. Zexhai nodded. He had led this fleet for over a century, personally destroying more than 200 different species. Each conquest followed the same pattern. First, they would study the enemy from a distance. Then they would demand surrender. When the enemy refused, as they always did, the Vorthek would attack with overwhelming force. Within days, sometimes hours, another species would be wiped from existence. "Tell me about this new target," Zexhai said. The holographic display changed, showing a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. One of the planets was blue and green, covered in water and land. It looked peaceful, almost beautiful. "The inhabitants call themselves humans," Threxnai explained. "They have only recently developed space travel. Their weapons are primitive projectile-based systems. Their ships are slow and poorly armed. Intelligence estimates total conquest within 72 hours. Zexhai studied the data. The humans had spread to a few nearby planets, but their colonies were small and poorly defended. Their technology was thousands of years behind Vorthak science. Their population was measured in billions, not trillions like the great empires they had crushed before." "Interesting," he said. "They appear to be a young species. Perhaps they will be wise enough to surrender without a fight." "Unlikely, Admiral. Our scouts report they have military forces and defensive installations. They appear ready to resist." Zexhai's 4 eyes glowed with anticipation. "Then they will learn the same lesson as all the others. Ready the fleet for jump? We leave for the human system in 1 hour." Far across the galaxy on a small planet humans called Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stared at the emergency message. On his screen, the words made no sense. He read them again, hoping they would change. "Colony 77 destroyed. Unknown hostile forces. Send help immediately." Jake was the commander of the Earth Defense Force's 3rd Fleet. He had spent his entire career preparing for wars that never came. Earth was peaceful, their colonies were peaceful. The only fighting happened in training exercises and computer simulations. "Get me Admiral Brooks," he told his communications officer. Admiral Brooks appeared on the screen moments later. The old man looked tired and worried. "Jake, tell me you've seen the reports." "I've seen them, sir, but I don't understand them." "Colony 77 had 50,000 people. The message says they're all gone. How is that possible?" "We don't know. The last transmission came in 6 hours ago. Since then, nothing. No radio signals, no emergency beacons, no life signs. It's like the entire colony just vanished." Jake felt cold inside. What about the defense platforms? The orbital stations? Gone, all of them. The deep space monitors show massive energy signatures, then nothing. Whatever did this, it was fast and it was thorough. "Orders, sir?" "Take your fleet to the outer colonies. Evacuate who you can. Find out what we're dealing with. And Jake ... be careful. I have a feeling this is just the beginning." On Mars Base Alpha, Commander Lisa Parker was having the worst day of her career. The reports coming in from the outer colonies were impossible to believe. Entire settlements destroyed in minutes. Survivors describing giant insect-like creatures that seemed unstoppable. Weapons that could melt steel and concrete like butter. "Ma'am, we've got another one," her aide said, handing her a datapad. "Colony New Boston. Same pattern. Orbital bombardment, then ground assault." "No survivors." Lisa stared at the tactical display. Red dots marked the locations of destroyed colonies. They formed a rough line, moving toward the inner systems, toward Earth. "How long before they reach Mars?" she asked. "At their current rate of advance, maybe 2 weeks, possibly less." Lisa had been a soldier for 20 years. She had trained for invasion scenarios, terrorist attacks, and civil wars. But this was different. This was extinction. "Get me a connection to Dr. Stone at the research facility," she ordered. "If we're going to fight these things, we need to understand them first." Dr. Emma Stone was already working when Lisa's call came through. Her laboratory was filled with pieces of alien technology recovered from the first attacks. The metal was unlike anything she had ever seen. It seemed to absorb energy rather than conduct it. Her best tools could barely scratch its surface. "Lisa, I'm glad you called," Emma said. "I've been studying these fragments all night. This technology is incredible. It's like they solved problems we didn't even know existed. Can we fight them?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "I don't know. Their weapons are energy-based, probably some kind of focused plasma. Their armor seems to be crystalline, but it's stronger than anything we have. And Lisa, these aren't just machines. The organic components I've found suggest these are living creatures wearing advanced armor. Living creatures? Big ones, maybe 8 feet tall with multiple limbs. The armor seems to be grown rather than manufactured. It's like they've bioengineered themselves for war." Lisa felt her heart sink. "What do? We learn. We adapt. We find their weaknesses. Every species has them, even perfect killing machines. We just have to be smart enough to find them." Meanwhile, the Vorthak fleet moved through space like a dark cloud. Admiral Zexai stood in his command center, watching the stars grow brighter as they approached the human system. Soon, they would add another victory to their endless list of conquests. But something was different this time. The humans had not sent surrender messages. They had not fled their colonies. Instead, they seemed to be preparing for war. Their primitive ships were moving into defensive positions. Their military forces were mobilizing. "Curious," Zexai muttered. "They must know they cannot win. Why do they continue to resist?" Perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand the situation," Threxnai suggested. "Many species react with irrational behavior when faced with extinction." Zexai nodded. But something bothered him. In all his years of conquest, he had learned to read species quickly. The cowardly ones fled. The proud ones fought briefly and died. The wise ones surrendered. But the humans seemed different. They were not fleeing, but they were not throwing themselves uselessly into a battle either. They were planning something. "Increase our speed," he ordered. "I want to reach their system before they can organize their defenses." The massive fleet accelerated, its dark ships cutting through space like knives. Behind them, they left empty star systems and silent planets. Ahead of them waited Earth, small and blue and apparently helpless. Neither side knew that this war would be unlike any other. The Vorthak expected another easy victory. The humans expected to fight for their survival. Both sides were wrong. This would be the war that changed everything, where the hunters became the hunted, and where the galaxy learned that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who refuse to follow the rules. The stage was set for humanity's greatest test. The first battle was a disaster for humanity. Captain Jake Morrison watched his fleet get torn apart by weapons he could barely understand. The alien ships moved like dancers, their formations perfect and deadly. Every shot they fired found its target. Every target they hit exploded into fire and metal. "All ships, fall back," Jake shouted into his communicator. "Fall back to defensive line 2. But there was no defensive line too. Half his ships were already destroyed. The rest were limping away from the battle, their hulls cracked and burning. The aliens had not even been damaged. Their shields absorbed every missile, every energy beam, every desperate attack the humans could throw at them. The EDF Defiance, Jake's flagship, shook as alien weapons struck its armor. The lights went out for a moment, then came back on. In that darkness, Jake saw his future. He saw Earth burning. He saw his people dying. He saw the end of everything he had ever loved. "Sir, we're losing main power," his engineer shouted. "Hull breach on deck 7. We can't take much more of this." Jake looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was huge, bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Their ships were massive, dark things that seemed to eat light itself. They moved with purpose like wolves hunting deer. "Get us out of here," he ordered. "All ships retreat to the inner system. We'll make our stand at Mars." The surviving human ships jumped away from the battle, leaving behind their dead and the wreckage of their hopes. They had lasted exactly 17 minutes against the alien fleet. It was the worst defeat in human history. Admiral Zexhai watched the human retreat with satisfaction. The battle had gone exactly as planned. The humans had fought bravely, but bravery meant nothing against superior technology. Their weapons were toys compared to Vorthek plasma cannons. Their ships were paper compared to Vorthek armor. "Casualties?" he asked. "None, Admiral. A few minor hits on our shields, but no damage." "To any vessel," Zexhai nodded. "It was always the same. The enemy would fight with everything they had, and it would not be enough." The humans were no different from the thousands of species that had died before them. "Begin the next phase," he ordered. "Attack their colonies. Drive them back to their homeworld. When they see their people dying, they will surrender." But the humans did not surrender. Instead, they did something the Vorthak had never seen before. They adapted. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was on Europa Station when the aliens attacked. She was a young officer, fresh out of the academy, and she had never seen real combat before. But she was smart, and she noticed things others missed. The alien ships came out of nowhere, their weapons lighting up the space around the station. The human defenders fought back with everything they had, but their missiles and energy beams seemed to bounce off the alien shields like rain. Amy watched the battle from the command center, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The aliens were attacking in perfect formation, their movements coordinated to the second. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "They're not individuals," she said suddenly. "What?" asked the station commander. "The aliens. They're not thinking for themselves. Look at their formation. It's too perfect. No group of individuals could coordinate like that. They're sharing thoughts somehow." The commander looked at the display again. Amy was right. The alien ships moved like parts of a single organism. When one ship turned, they all turned. When one ship fired, they all fired. There was no delay, no hesitation. "If they're sharing thoughts," Amy continued, "then they're also sharing weaknesses. Disrupt their coordination, and maybe we can level the playing field." It was a desperate idea, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The humans began experimenting with ways to jam the alien communication systems. They used everything they had: radio jammers, electromagnetic pulse weapons, even old-fashioned chaff rockets. Most of their attempts failed, but some worked, if only for a few seconds. When the alien coordination broke down, their perfect formations became chaos. Ships collided with each other, weapons fired at the wrong targets. For brief moments, the unstoppable killing machines became confused and vulnerable. Dr. Emma Stone was making her own discoveries. Working with the alien technology recovered from the first battles, she had found something interesting. The crystalline armor that made the aliens so tough had a weakness. It resonated at specific frequencies like a tuning fork. "It's like they're made of living crystal," she explained to Commander Lisa Parker. "The armor grows with them, becoming part of their body. But crystals have harmonic frequencies. Hit them with the right sound and they'll shatter." Lisa looked at the test results. "What kind of sound?" Low frequency, high amplitude, like a bass note played very loud. The problem is building weapons that can generate those frequencies in space. Lisa smiled for the first time in weeks. Leave that to us, we're good at building weapons. The humans began to change their tactics. Instead of meeting the aliens head-on, they used hit-and-run attacks. They would strike fast, then disappear before the aliens could respond. They targeted supply ships and communication relays. They planted mines in asteroid fields and booby traps on abandoned stations. Colonel Ryan Davis led many of these missions. He was a special forces officer, trained in guerrilla warfare and unconventional tactics. The aliens had never faced an enemy like him. The key is to make them afraid, he told his team. They're used to enemies who fight fair, who follow rules. We're not going to do that. We're going to be unpredictable. His team struck at night, when the aliens were not expecting attacks. They used the terrain to their advantage, hiding in asteroid fields and behind planets. They made the aliens paranoid. Always looking over their shoulders, the Vorthak had conquered the galaxy by being predictable. They knew exactly what worked, and they did it over and over again. But the humans were not predictable. They tried new things, made mistakes, learned from those mistakes, and tried again. Engineer Pete Johnson was working on a new weapon when the aliens attacked his facility. He was a maintenance worker, not a soldier, but he had an idea. The mining charges they used to blast asteroids were powerful explosives. Maybe they could be turned into weapons. As the alien ground forces stormed his facility, Pete rigged the mining charges to explode in sequence. The blast pattern was designed to bring down the entire complex, but it also created a resonance wave that matched the frequency Dr. Stone had discovered. The alien soldiers were caught in the blast. Their crystal armor cracked and shattered. For the first time since the war began, humans had killed Vorthak warriors in ground combat. News of the victory spread quickly. The humans had found a weakness. The aliens could be killed, but the victory came at a cost. The facility was destroyed, and many humans died in the blast. Pete Johnson himself was badly injured, but he survived long enough to tell others what he had learned. Communications. Officer Kate Williams was monitoring alien transmissions when she noticed something strange. The aliens were talking to each other more than usual. Their communications were becoming confused, contradictory. They're arguing, she told her superiors. I can't understand their language, but the patterns are clear. They're not as united as they appear. The humans began to realize that their enemy was not as perfect as they had seemed. The aliens were confused by human tactics. They had never faced an enemy who refused to follow the rules of warfare. They had never dealt with opponents who kept fighting after suffering massive losses. Admiral Zexhai was experiencing something he had never felt before: doubt. The human resistance should have collapsed by now. Their fleets were destroyed, their colonies were under attack, and their people were dying. But they kept fighting. Status report, he demanded. The humans continue to resist, Admiral. Their attacks are becoming more coordinated. They have developed new weapons that can penetrate our armor. Our casualty rates are increasing. Zexhai stared at the tactical display. The humans were like a virus, spreading through his fleet and causing damage wherever they went. They were not fighting like a civilized species. They were fighting like wild animals. How many humans are left? He asked. Approximately 4 billion on their homeworld, plus scattered populations on their colonies. Still a significant population. Zexhai nodded. Then we will have to be more thorough. Increase the attack intensity. I want their homeworld under siege within the week. But even as he gave the order, Zexhai felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The humans were changing the rules of war, and he did not know how to respond. The second phase of the war was about to begin, and for the first time in 3,000 years, the Vorthak Empire was not certain of victory. The war was changing, and the Vorthak did not understand why. Admiral Zexhai stood in his command center, watching reports flood in from across the human system. Each report told the same impossible story. The humans were winning battles they should have lost. Explain this to me, he said to his war council. The humans at Titan Mining Complex had no warships, no orbital defenses, no military installations. How did they destroy 3 of our battle cruisers? War leader Threxnai shifted uncomfortably. They used the mining equipment as weapons, Admiral. Massive excavators or processors, fusion reactors. They turned their entire facility into a weapon. Industrial equipment cannot defeat our armor. They modified it, sir. Somehow they increased the power output beyond safe limits. The fusion reactors were overloaded to create massive electromagnetic pulses. The mining lasers were focused into concentrated beams. When our ships approached, they struck with coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Zexhai felt anger rising within him. One facility destroyed 3 battle cruisers. How many humans died in this attack? Unknown, Admiral. The entire complex was destroyed in the battle. Estimated casualties are in the thousands. They destroyed themselves, too. Kill a few of our warriors? Yes, Admiral. This was madness. No civilized species would sacrifice thousands of their own people to destroy a few enemy ships. The mathematics made no sense. The humans were trading massive losses for minor victories. Yet somehow, these minor victories were adding up to something larger. Commander Lisa Parker was coordinating the defense of the inner system from her base on Mars. She had never expected to be a military genius, but the war was teaching her things no academy ever could. The humans were learning that their weakness could be their strength. Status report, she said to her staff. The Titan operation was successful, ma'am. We destroyed 3 enemy ships and damaged several others. The aliens are avoiding our mining facilities now, Lisa nodded. The Titan operation had been her idea. The humans could not match the aliens in space combat, but they could use their environment in ways the aliens never expected. Every human facility was now a potential weapon. What about the resonance weapons? Dr. Stone's team has made progress. We've built prototype sonic cannons that can crack alien armor. The problem is getting them close enough to use. Lisa studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, but it was also predictable. They attacked in formation, following patterns that had worked for thousands of years. The humans were learning to use that predictability against them. Get me Sergeant Clark, she ordered. Sergeant Danny Clark was a Special Forces soldier who had become something of a legend during the war. He had led more raids against alien positions than anyone else, and he had never lost a mission. His team was small, but they were skilled at getting into places where they did not belong. You have a new mission, Lisa told him. I want you to plant listening devices on an alien command ship. Danny raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, those ships are heavily guarded. Getting inside would be suicide. I'm not asking you to get inside. I'm asking you to get close enough to plant bugs on the hull. We need to know how they communicate, how they coordinate their attacks. Danny thought about it. It's crazy, but crazy seems to be working for us. I'll take my best people. The mission was launched 3 days later. Danny's team used a captured alien shuttle, modified with human stealth technology. They approach the command ship during a shift change. When the alien patrols were distracted, the alien hull was smooth and organic, like the skin of some giant creature. Danny's team worked quickly, placing listening devices at strategic points. The devices were designed to tap into the alien communication networks. Recording everything they transmitted, they were almost finished when an alien patrol spotted them. The firefight was brief but intense. Danny's team fought with desperation, knowing that discovery would mean death for all of them. They managed to escape, but just barely. The intelligence they gathered was worth the risk. The listening devices revealed that the alien fleet was operating under strict protocols. Every action was planned in advance. Every decision was made by committee. The aliens were not adapting to human tactics because they could not adapt quickly. ANOUGH, Dr. Emma Stone was working around the clock in her laboratory. The resonance weapons were showing promise, but they needed to be portable. The humans could not win by defending fixed positions. They needed weapons that could be carried into battle. The frequency has to be exact, she explained to her team. Too high, and it bounces off their armor. Too low, and it doesn't have enough power. We need to find the sweet spot. Her team had been testing different frequencies for weeks. They had finally found the right combination, a low-frequency pulse that could crack the alien armor, followed by a high-frequency burst that would shatter it completely. It's like breaking glass with a hammer, she said. First you crack it, then you smash it. The weapons were crude, but they worked. The first field test was conducted against a small alien patrol. The results were spectacular. The sonic weapons cracked the alien armor like eggshells, leaving the creatures inside vulnerable to conventional weapons. Engineer Pete Johnson was back on his feet, despite his injuries from the mining facility explosion. He had been working on a new project, mobile manufacturing units that could quickly produce weapons and equipment in the field. The aliens have superior technology, he explained to the engineering team. But they're using the same technology over and over again. We can adapt faster than they can. The mobile units were built from salvaged equipment and human ingenuity. They could produce sonic weapons, electromagnetic pulse devices, even improvised missiles. Most importantly, they could be moved quickly when the aliens discovered them. The humans were learning to fight like guerrillas. They would hit the aliens hard, then disappear before they could respond. They used the terrain to their advantage, hiding in asteroid fields and behind planets. They made the aliens paranoid. Always looking over their shoulders, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez had been promoted to captain after her insights about alien coordination. She was now leading a squadron of modified fighters, equipped with the new sonic weapons and communication jammers. Remember, she told her pilots, we're not trying to destroy their fleet. We're trying to confuse them. Hit their communication relays, jam their signals, make them doubt themselves. Her squadron struck at the alien fleet's weak points. They targeted the communication ships that coordinated the alien attacks. They used electronic warfare to disrupt the alien hive mind. For brief moments, the perfect alien coordination would break down, and in those moments, the humans could strike. The psychological impact on the Vorthak was devastating. For the first time in their history, they were facing an enemy that refused to follow the rules. The humans did not fight fair. They did not honor the traditions of warfare. They fought like savages. Using every dirty trick they could imagine, Admiral Zexhai was receiving reports that made no sense. Human fighters were attacking supply convoys with weapons that should not exist. Human commandos were infiltrating alien bases and planting explosives. Human ships were appearing in places where no ship should be able to go. How are they doing this? He demanded. We believe they are using our own technology against us, Threxnai replied. They have been studying our equipment, reverse engineering our weapons. They are learning to think like us. No, Zexhai said. They are not learning to think like us. They are teaching us to think like them. The truth was becoming clear. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were changing the nature of war itself. They were breaking the rules that had governed galactic conflict for millennia. They were proving that superior technology was not enough to guarantee victory. Captain Jake Morrison was preparing for the most ambitious operation yet. The humans were going to attack the alien command ship directly. It was a desperate plan, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The target is heavily defended, he told his pilots. We'll lose most of our ships in the attack. But if we can take out their command structure, we can disrupt their entire fleet. The pilots nodded grimly. They all knew the odds. They all knew they were probably going to die. But they also knew that their sacrifice might save Earth. The attack was launched at dawn. Hundreds of human ships charged toward the alien command ship, their sonic weapons blazing. The alien defenses were overwhelming, but the humans kept coming. They flew through walls of fire, through clouds of debris, through the very heart of the alien fleet. Most of the human ships were destroyed before they reached their target. But a few got through. Captain Morrison's fighter was one of them. He flew his ship directly into the command ship's shield generator. Sacrificing himself to open a gap for the others, the shield generator exploded in a ball of fire. For a moment, the command ship was vulnerable. The remaining human ships poured through the gap, their weapons striking the alien hull with devastating effect. The command ship began to list, its systems failing. The alien fleet, suddenly cut off from their central command, began to scatter. For the first time in the war, the humans had achieved a major victory, but the cost was enormous. Most of the human fleet was destroyed. Captain Morrison was dead. The survivors were scattered across. The impossible had happened. The Vorthak fleet was retreating. Admiral Zexai stood in his damaged command center, watching his forces pull back from the human system. Around him, his officers worked frantically to restore order to their scattered fleet. Report, he commanded, his voice betraying none of the confusion he felt inside. 17 ships lost, Admiral. The command ship Eternal Dominion is severely damaged. Our communication networks are compromised. The fleet is scattered across 3 star systems. Zexai absorbed this information in silence. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Vorthak had never lost 17 ships to a single enemy. They had never been forced to retreat. They had never faced an opponent who could break their perfect coordination. How many humans remain? Intelligence estimates suggest their military has been reduced by 60%. Their industrial capacity is severely damaged. Yet they continue to resist with increasing effectiveness. This was the part that frightens Zexai most. The humans should have been broken by now. Any rational species would have surrendered after suffering such losses. Instead, they seem to be getting stronger, more dangerous, more unpredictable. Sir, said a young officer, we're receiving communications from the home fleet. They're demanding an explanation for our ... setback. Zexai's 4 eyes glowed with anger. Setback. That was what they were calling the first military defeat in Vorthak history. A setback. Tell them the situation is under control, he said. We are dealing with an unusually stubborn species. The conquest will proceed as planned. But even as he said the words, Zexai knew they were lies. Nothing about this conquest was proceeding as planned. The humans had changed the rules of warfare, and the Vorthak did not know how to respond. On Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. The alien retreat had given humanity time to regroup, to rebuild, and to plan their next move. Commander Lisa Parker was now in overall command of human forces, and she was determined to make the most of their opportunity. We hurt them, she told her staff. For the first time in their history, they've been forced to retreat. But they'll be back and they'll be angry. The human fleet was in shambles, but their spirit was intact. They had proved that the aliens could be beaten. Now they had to prove they could be beaten permanently. Dr. Emma Stone had been working on a new weapon system based on the captured alien technology. The resonance weapons were effective, but they were limited in range and power. She needed something bigger, something that could threaten the alien capital ships. I've been studying their communication system, she explained. To Lisa, it's not just how they talk to each other, it's how they think. Their entire consciousness is linked through quantum entanglement. If we can disrupt that link, we can turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Lisa finished. The new weapon was called the Quantum Disruptor. It was a massive device that would send chaotic signals through the alien communication network, confusing their shared consciousness and breaking their coordination on a fleet-wide scale. It's never been tested, Emma warned. We don't know what effect it will have on their minds. It could drive them insane, or it could make them even more dangerous, Lisa nodded. We'll have to risk it. We need every advantage we can get. Meanwhile, Sergeant Danny Clark was leading a special mission behind enemy lines. His team had been tasked with capturing a Vorthak command node intact. The device would give the humans direct access to the alien communication network, allowing them to study their enemy's psychology and tactics. The mission was dangerous beyond measure. The command node was located on a heavily defended alien base, surrounded by thousands of enemy troops. Getting in would be nearly impossible. Getting out would be a miracle. Danny's team approached the base using captured alien equipment. They had studied the enemy's behavior patterns, learning to mimic their movements and communication protocols. To the alien sentries, they looked like just another patrol. The base was a nightmare of organic architecture, its walls pulsing with life. The aliens had grown their buildings rather than constructing them, creating a maze of tunnels and chambers that defied human understanding. Danny's team moved through the base like ghosts, avoiding the main corridors and staying in the shadows. They reached the command center without being detected. But the real challenge was just beginning. The command node was a massive crystalline structure, pulsing with energy. It was connected to the alien communication network, processing thousands of messages every second. To remove it without triggering the alarm system would require perfect timing and incredible skill. Danny's team worked with practiced efficiency. They had rehearsed this operation 100 times, but the real thing was different. The alien technology was alive, responding to their presence with subtle changes in its patterns. They were almost finished when an alien patrol entered the command center. The firefight was brief but intense. Danny's team fought with desperation, knowing that discovery would mean death for all of them. They managed to escape with the command node, but just barely. The intelligence they gathered was worth the risk. The command node revealed the true nature of the alien threat. The Vorthak were not just conquerors. They were a dying species, desperate to find new worlds to colonize. Their home galaxy was being consumed by dark matter, and they had only a few centuries left to find a new home. "They're not evil," Emma Stone explained to the human leadership. "They're terrified. They've been running from extinction for thousands of years, conquering other species because they believe it's the only way to survive." This revelation changed everything. The humans were not just fighting for their own survival. They were fighting to prove that there was another way. That cooperation could be stronger than conquest. The quantum disruptor was ready. It was a massive device, built from salvaged alien technology and human ingenuity. It would send chaotic signals through the alien communication network, disrupting their shared consciousness and breaking their coordination. "Once we activate this," Lisa warned, "there's no going back. We'll be committed to total war." The human fleet prepared for the final battle. They had rebuilt their forces using captured alien technology, creating hybrid ships that combined human creativity with alien firepower. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy with thousands of years of experience, but they had something the aliens did not: the ability to adapt, to improvise, to find new solutions to old problems. They had learned to fight like guerrillas, to use their environment as a weapon, to turn their weaknesses into strengths. The alien fleet returned to the human system in force. Admiral Zexhai had been reinforced by elements from the home fleet, bringing his total strength to over 500 ships. He was determined to finish what he had started, to prove that the Vorthak Empire was still invincible. "This time we will show no mercy," he told his officers. "The humans will learn the price of defying the Empire." The battle began at dawn. The alien fleet moved into attack formation, their massive ships blotting out the stars. They expected to find the same desperate resistance they had faced before. Instead, they found something that terrified them: organized human fleets fighting with captured alien technology the humans had learned. Their ships moved with new precision, their weapons struck with deadly accuracy. They no longer fought like desperate animals. They fought like predators. Captain Amy Rodriguez led the first wave of human fighters. Her squadron was equipped with the latest hybrid technology, combining human tactics with alien firepower. They struck at the alien fleets, communication ships, targeting the nerve centers that coordinated their attacks. "Remember," she told her pilots, "we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for the right to exist as free beings. Don't let them break us." The human fighters swarmed through the alien formation like angry bees. They used their smaller size and greater maneuverability to slip between the massive alien ships, striking at vulnerable points and disappearing before the aliens could respond. The quantum disruptor was activated at the height of the battle. The massive device sent chaotic signals through the alien communication network, disrupting their shared consciousness and breaking their coordination. For the first time in their history, the Vorthak found themselves fighting as individuals. Rather than as a collective. The effect was devastating. Alien ships collided with each other as their pilots lost coordination, weapons fired at the wrong targets. The perfect formations that had made them invincible dissolved into chaos. Admiral Zexhai watched his fleet fall apart around him. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned the Vorthak's greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Without their shared consciousness, the aliens were just another species with advanced technology. All ships, fall back to defensive positions, he ordered. But his orders were lost in the chaos. The communication network was flooded with conflicting signals. His fleet was scattered, confused, and vulnerable. The humans pressed their advantage. They had been preparing for this moment, studying their enemies' weaknesses and building weapons, specifically designed to exploit them. The sonic weapons cracked alien armor like eggshells. The electromagnetic pulse devices disabled alien systems. The hybrid ships fought with a combination of human courage and alien technology. Sarge. The silence in the captured alien flagship was deafening. Admiral Zexhai sat in restraints designed by human engineers, his 4 eyes staring at the beings who had accomplished the impossible. For 3,000 years, no species had ever captured a Vorthak admiral alive. The humans had done it in less than a year of warfare. Captain Amy Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral after the previous command structure had been decimated, stood before the alien leader. She was young for such a position, but the war had aged everyone beyond their years. Her eyes held the weight of all the battles she had fought, all the friends she had lost. Admiral Zexhai, she said in carefully practiced Vorthak, I am Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. We need to talk. The alien's crystalline armor had been cracked in the final battle, and medical teams had worked to keep him alive. He was a magnificent creature, built for war but capable of thought beyond mere violence. His translator device had been repaired, allowing communication between the species. You should kill me, Zexhai said, his voice carrying the weight of defeat. It would be the merciful thing to do. I have failed my people. I have broken 3 millennia of unbroken conquest. Amy shook her head. We don't want to kill you. We want to understand you. Our scientists have been studying your technology, your culture, your biology. We know you're not monsters. You're a dying species fighting for survival. The alien's eyes flickered with surprise. You know about our home galaxy? We know about the dark matter consumption. We know your people have been fleeing from system to system, conquering other species because you believe it's the only way to survive. But there's another way. Zexhai laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Another way? For 3,000 years, we have tried every other way. Diplomacy fails, trade fails, cooperation fails. Only conquest succeeds, only the strong survive. You're wrong, Amy said quietly. The strong survive temporarily. The adaptable survive permanently. Your empire is built on the idea that might makes right, that superior technology guarantees victory. But we've proved that wrong. We've shown that creativity, cooperation, and the willingness to sacrifice for others can overcome any technological advantage. Dr. Emma Stone entered the chamber, carrying a data pad with her latest research. She had been working around the clock to understand the alien technology, to find ways to help both species survive. Admiral, she said to Amy, I finished analyzing their genetic structure. The Vorthak aren't just dying because their galaxy is being consumed. They're dying because their evolution has reached a dead end. She turned to Zexhai. Your species has been selectively breeding for perfection for millennia. You've eliminated genetic diversity, removed the random mutations that drive evolution. You've created a perfect species that can't adapt to changing circumstances. Zexhai's 4 eyes focused on the human scientist. Explain. Your crystalline armor, your shared consciousness, your perfect coordination. These are all examples of evolutionary perfection. But perfection is static. It can't change, can't grow, can't adapt. When you encounter something new, something your perfection wasn't designed to handle, you can't cope. Emma activated her datapad, showing genetic comparisons between humans and Vorthok. Humans are imperfect. We're chaotic, unpredictable, genetically diverse. We make mistakes, we fail, we die, but we also adapt, we learn, we grow. Our imperfections are our strength. The alien admiral was silent for a long moment. You are saying that our greatest achievement, our evolution toward perfection, is also our greatest failure? I'm saying that evolution never stops. The moment you think you've reached perfection, you start dying. The universe is constantly changing, and only species that can change with it will survive. Commander Lisa Parker joined the conversation. Via hologram from Mars base, the reconstruction effort was going well, but there were still millions of refugees from the destroyed colonies. The human cost of the war had been enormous. We've been monitoring communications from other parts of the galaxy, she reported. News of your defeat is spreading fast. Some of the species you conquered are starting to rebel. Your empire is fragmenting. Zexia's head lowered. It was inevitable. The empire was built on fear and absolute control. Remove that control and the structure collapses. It doesn't have to, Amy said. You could rebuild, not as conquerors but as partners. The species you've conquered don't hate you because you're Vorthok. They hate you because you enslaved them. Stop enslaving them, and they might be willing to help you survive. The alien admiral looked up, his eyes showing an emotion humans had never seen in the Vorthok before. Hope. You would help us? After everything we have people? We would help you because of everything you've done to our people. You've taught us that the universe is dangerous, that we need to be strong to survive. But you've also shown us that strength without wisdom is just another form of weakness. Sergeant Danny Clark entered the chamber, carrying news from the outer system. His team had been monitoring the scattered alien fleets, tracking their movements and intentions. Admiral, he said to Amy, we're getting surrender requests from 17 alien ships. They're asking for terms, Amy nodded. Standard terms. They return to their home territory, they release all prisoners, and they agree to cease hostilities. But we also offer them something else. Technical assistance, genetic diversity, and the chance to learn new ways of thinking. Zexai stared at the humans in disbelief. You would share your technology with us? Your genetic material? Your knowledge? We would share our ability to adapt, Amy replied. That's the most valuable thing we have. Your species has advanced technology, but you've forgotten how to change. We can teach you. Dr. Stone stepped forward. We've been studying your genetic code. With careful breeding programs, we could reintroduce genetic diversity into your population. It would take generations, but your species could learn to evolve again. And in return? Zexai asked. In return, you teach us about the universe. You've traveled between galaxies, seen things we can't imagine. You have technology we won't develop for centuries. Together, we could explore the cosmos, find new worlds, maybe even save your home galaxy from the dark matter. The alien admiral was quiet for a long time. Around him, the captured ship hummed with activity as human engineers worked to understand the alien technology. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. My people will not accept this easily, he said finally. For 3,000 years, we have believed that conquest is the only way to survive. To change that belief, it would be like asking you to stop breathing. Then we'll help you learn to breathe differently, Amy said. It won't be easy. There will be setbacks, failures, maybe even more wars. But the alternative is extinction. For both our species. Engineer Pete Johnson arrived with a team of technicians ready to begin the complex process of integrating human and alien technology. The hybrid ships that had won the final battle were just the beginning. With full cooperation, they could build vessels capable of traveling between galaxies, of exploring the deepest mysteries of the universe. Admiral, Pete said to Amy, we're ready to begin the tech integration. But we'll need their full cooperation. Some of this stuff is so advanced we can't even figure out how to turn it on. Zexai looked at his captors, these strange beings who had defeated his empire through sheer stubborn refusal to give up. I will help you understand our technology. But I want something in return. What? Teach me to think like a human. Show me how to be imperfect, how to fail, how to adapt. Show me how to be chaotic. Amy smiled, the first genuine smile she had managed since the war began. That's one thing we're really good at. Being chaotic comes naturally to us. The reconstruction of the galaxy began slowly. The Vorthic Empire fragmented into smaller states, some choosing to continue the old ways while others embraced the new philosophy of cooperation. The species that had been conquered for millennia began to assert their independence, but many also chose to work with their former oppressors. Humanity found itself at the center of a new galactic civilization, not as conquerors but as mediators. Their gift was not superior technology or military might, but the ability to find common ground between different species, to build bridges where others saw only walls. The war had changed everything. The galaxy learned that the most dangerous enemies were not always the most powerful ones. Sometimes they were the ones who refused to follow the rules, who adapted when others remained rigid, who found strength in their imperfections. Admiral Zexhai, now serving as an ambassador rather than a conqueror, often reflected on the lesson his species had learned. They had feared nothing in the universe because they had encountered nothing that challenged their fundamental assumptions about existence. Humanity had not defeated them through superior technology or greater numbers. They had won by embodying the one thing the Vorthak had eliminated from their perfect society: the chaotic, unpredictable, and ultimately triumphant spirit of adaptation. The universe was vast and dangerous, filled with threats that could destroy entire civilizations. But it was also filled with opportunities for growth, for learning, for becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. The Vorthak had learned to fear, and in learning to fear, they had learned to hope. The age of Absolute,